Good evening. Welcome to the monthly meeting of Wicomico County Board of Education. Today's meeting is being live streamed and videotaped. The videos are available for viewing at wcboe.org. As we always do, we start our meeting with a pledge to the flag, and we always have one of our students lead us in that. This evening, we have from Prince Street Elementary, Ariana Corshi. Ariana, the floor is yours.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want to go out there with us? No.
Superintendent sign. Who did you bring with you today?
My mom.
Your mom. Here's the flag for you. We're just going to get a picture with your legacy. Come on, Mom.
Thank you. Okay, 3.2, approval of this evening's agenda. So I'll entertain a motion from one of my colleagues to approve tonight's agenda.
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Hazel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Beecham?
Aye.
Mr. Platts?
Aye.
Dr. Ennis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The agenda is approved. 3.3 is our moment of silence. Since our last meeting, we lost three from our Board of Education, public school family. Emily Norman was an accountant with us with 5 years of service. Phyllis Webster worked at Westside Primary. And Lois Wilburn passed away at the age of 102 and actually taught me fourth grade in 1966, and now you know how old I am. But she was I knew her pretty well in those days. So if we could take a moment of silence in honor of the memories of these three individuals. Thank you. 3.4. So student reps to the board reports. This is the first meeting where we have four new student reps. So seated at the board table from James M. Bennett, Cedric Young. Cedric, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Superintendent Stauffer and fellow board members. My name is Cedric Jung, and I am the SGA Executive President for the 2023-2024 school year for JMB. Before I begin on what our school has been working on and accomplished for the past month, I would like to thank you all. Thank you for the work that you do every day to create a finer environment and atmosphere for our students, and for supplying every one of us with the opportunity to shine and succeed. Thank you for being the backbone of our educational facilities and paving the road for our students to one day become responsible, hardworking adults. Thank you for caring for our future and giving us your efforts. I hope to be a part of a positive effect as we work together for this coming school year. I hope and am willing to work hard to make the students of our county as content and comfortable as they can be. I look forward to being Bennett's executive president and also to be working with you all. I would like to speak for the entire student government of JMB when I say thank you for all that you do. So for the first slide, I would like to focus on our past. What has our school done so far? On September 5th, we had our freshman first day. Instead of throwing students into the classes in a foreign environment, we created somewhat of a field day with activities for every class and a time for classmates to become friends. Offering activities like water balloons and kickball and games, we tried our best to create an environment, a welcoming environment for our freshmen. And talking about freshmen, it is time for us to induct the new class of 2027 SGA officers. With the intent to run closing on the 11th, campaign videos being due today, and the voting beginning tomorrow, we will have our new freshman officers by the 14th. Lastly, and the most exciting news of all, With a score of 32-0, the JMB Clippers have ended the 2-year dry spell and won our first football game. Thank you. With the bleachers exploding with excitement, we started the year off with a wonderful display of school spirit. And as you can see on the left, that was the water balloon station. You can see our players in the middle, and our bleacher creatures on the right. So now we look at the present, and the agenda for right now would be homecoming. Our theme is Night of the Floating Lanterns, inspired by the famous movie Tangled. With this comes our Clipper Rally, as well as our annual homecoming game. Fingers crossed we win that one too. And as you can see from the pictures above, our SGA has worked hard this year to create appealing and impressive visuals to promote our event. On the left, you can see our Clipper Rally poster, and on the right, you can see our Spirit Days leading up to homecoming. The tickets will be $15, and the sales will begin on the 18th. As you can see, our SGA visual department worked very hard to create them as appealing as possible, as we are going to start painting them up across the school. And finally, we dive into the future. What are our plans for JMB? Our wonderful staff has worked tirelessly to integrate the idea of our school with the message of our school. I would like to introduce Sailing the Clipper Way. As you can see, you could read if you like, but I'll summarize it. Anchored in respect shows how students should conduct themselves and work to create a friendly environment amongst each other. Navigating responsibility represents the duties we have as students to be on time and to be prepared and take accountability. Lastly, we have chartering excellence, to show the students to stay curious, to push the boundaries, to make mistakes and work hard towards their goals. This school year, the SGA wanted to put an emphasis on communication. We want to hear from the students, with recommendation boxes set up outside the library, as well as student-chosen events for their Clipper Rally, which they ended up choosing volleyball. We want to put a heavy emphasis on communication, and with this new bridge, we are ready to sail into a new and better chapter for our school's future. With the fall sports in full swing, which our soccer girls won tonight as well, rock and roll auditions around the corner, and school spirit at an all-time high, we hope to hit the ground running to create a JMB we all love.
Thank you, Cedric. Next, representing Wicomico High School, Manal Khwaja.
Good evening, board members and guests. Yeah, I was supposed to be third. There we go. Okay. Good evening, board members and guests. I hope you had an amazing summer break. My name is Manal Khwaja, and I'm honored to be Y-High student representative at this meeting as I share Y-High's most recent accomplishments. Starting off with summer, in mid-July, a group of 9 accomplished Y-High students, accompanied by Miss Matthews, right there, had the pleasure of attending UMES's Science Education Partnership Camp, or SEPA for short. At this camp, we were taught by accredited professors while we made discoveries about various types of cancer, stem cells, nanomedicine, animal behavior, antimicrobials, and more. We gained experience with intricate science equipment through current research, something that is not often experienced by high school students. During the week, we made strong connections with UMES's professors and student aides, and we also had the opportunity to learn about financial aid and the college process. So those pictures are the ones outlined in blue on the slide. Our marching band was also working hard all summer on the field and in the classroom. In late summer, our marching band had their band camp and learned, practiced, and performed their new show. Their pirate-themed show called Open Waters has already been a crowd pleaser for the Y-High Blue Crew at all our football games and will hopefully do great at all the upcoming band competitions. The school year at Y-High has been off to a great start also in terms of our extracurriculars and our athletics. Specifically, our varsity football team has been doing great, and they came back after a loss. Last week, they won against Easton 17-3. NHS has also been super busy this year as well, with over 10 volunteers volunteering at a quarter auction in Delmar, where all the proceeds went to the Historical Society of Delmarva. NHS has also brought back a fan-favorite tradition of volunteering at Holly Center dances. They had a blast helping residents to and from various buildings to the dance and then interacting with them at the dance. NHS is very thankful to be able to do these dances, and they will continue to do them throughout the year as they have before. So on the slide, the yellow are all the sports pictures, mostly football, and then the blue are NHS events. On to SGA. SGA hosted our annual freshman barbecue the Tuesday before school started, with over 300 freshmen and their families in attendance to receive tours, eat barbecue, and play games. It was a spirited and very fun way to kick off the school year while getting to know our new cohort of students. Our student government also took advantage of the freshman transition day. We held a panel of upperclassmen to give our new freshmen advice on how to succeed in high school and ways to get involved throughout Y-High. SGA also performed a dress code skit, which you can see in the bottom right corner, where we demonstrated what not to wear, and I think it's been helping with as far as freshman dress code. Speaking of SGA, we also had our first SGA meeting of the year last week, and we were thrilled to begin planning student events. We had a great turnout with over 50 kids, and we're really excited to start the year. Our first full class run event has already happened. It was a senior sunrise, which was last Friday, and even though it was super early in the morning and we were all very tired, it was a great experience and a very memorable morning watching the sunrise with our peers ready to take on the journey of senior year. Our JRTC program has also had some recent accomplishments. So far throughout the summer and the year, they have trained and executed 5 color guards, including the county teacher kickoff, baseball games, and more. We're honored to have opportunities like this to show respect and honor to our community. So on the slide, the yellow is all the SGA events, and the blue is all the JRTC events. I look forward to next month as I get to share more accomplishments of the faculty and students of Y-High. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Representing Mardella High School, Holland Orr.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Stoffer. My name is Holland Orr, and I am proud to represent Mardella Middle and High School as president of the SGA. As many of you may know, Mardella is in the midst of a massive renovation, and I'm excited to share with you a glimpse of the transformations that are taking place. First, I want to point out that these changes are not merely cosmetic, they are an embodiment of the commitment our community has to providing students with a state-of-the-art educational environment. Among the exciting developments is our new cafeteria, which has embraced an open concept design that offers students a unique and transparent dining experience. The ability to see the food preparation firsthand enhances not only the mealtime experience, but also reinforces the importance of health and nutrition. Due to the constructions and changes to our school, pickup and drop-off have been an adjustment for parents and students. The first day, morning drop-off scenario was a little bit bumpy, but our principal, Ms. Hastings, took that into consideration and afternoon pickup went much smoother. Perhaps the most significant change to Mardella is the addition of a brand new gymnasium. This space has already been put to great use by our new volleyball team, the first team Mardella has had since 1965. This facility is a testament to our commitment to fostering a holistic educational experience. This school year, we are welcoming so many more opportunities to get involved. As mentioned, we have our new volleyball team who is working hard to have a successful team this season. We are also in the process of rebuilding our long-awaited cheerleading team. Our golf team participation has grown tremendously from last year with the participation and improving scores during golf tournaments. We are eagerly anticipating this year's homecoming game against Crisfield High School on September 29th, where our Warrior Marching Band will be performing their annual field show. Our homecoming dance will be held the following evening in our brand new cafeteria. This year's theme is Ancient Greece. Nominations for Homecoming Court has started this week and will continue through the 15th of September. The following week, from September 18th through 22nd, tickets will be on sale. We are excited to announce that our annual Fun in the Sun date has already been set to May 31st, 2024. Where warriors who demonstrate the warrior way during the 2023 to 2024 school year with no out-of-school suspensions will be invited to attend. Our 10th grade soccer player, Cameron Dorr, has been nominated Delmarva's Player of the Week. We are also excited to welcome Ms. Rhodes, Mardella's new career counselor, who will be working with students who are eager to enter the job market and assisting them to figure out what career path is the best fit. Yesterday, in observance of 9/11, our school held a moment of silence, and school social studies teacher Mr. Abatello gave a special presentation to his class on the events that led to that tragic day. In addition to being a teacher, Mr. Abatello is also a volunteer firefighter, and he allowed several students to try on his gear so they could get an idea of how difficult it was for emergency responders. In order to ensure the safety of our students, the new e-hall pass has been put into place. This e-hall pass allows for all teachers to oversee which students are out of their classrooms to use the restroom, go to the office, or to see the nurse. A new addition to this year's SGA is the use of committees and senators. We have 4 different committees: fundraising and sales, charity, advertising, and school spirit committee. Each committee has 2 advisors who will make sure their group is doing what is necessary to have a successful SGA. We are trying to model our SGA after Salisbury University's SGA. We even did a field trip there in the spring and met with the student president of SU. That's where we got the idea for the committees and senators. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.
And representing Parkside High School, Julia Gore.
Good evening, board members and superintendent. My name is Julia Gore, and I'm ecstatic to be representing Parkside High School. Okay. So prior to the 2023-2024 school year, Parkside has promoted student involvement throughout our various opportunities and events. We've been holding fall sports preseason practices and games and keeping busy. Parkside Marching Rams have held their band camp to prepare for this year's long marching season. And Parkside CTE students have been engaging in summer research and presenting it over the summer. Kicking off the school year with Freshman Transition Day and welcoming back the herd, the Rambassadors, our student volunteers, have worked hard to welcome the class of 2027 and make them feel welcome to their new school. Student assemblies, tours of the school, and team building activities have been held during the first week to make it feel fun and engaging and a good community for everyone. Upcoming this fall, the general theme for the school year is All In. We're promoting a culture where each student is seen, heard, and valued. And this October, we have our homecoming, which will be October 7th. The theme will be Scuba Palooza, which will be an oceanic aquatic theme. And our game is October 6th, and the Royal Court Parade will be held then. The week prior, we're going to be very busy. We're holding a bonfire, which will be held October 5th, that Thursday. Snack voucher distribution, where students will be allowed 1 snack. And a pep rally held October 6th with fall sports recognition and competitions between classes, with opportunities for students to receive money to go towards their prom. And we have our themes for Spirit Week in motion. Also in October, we have our Bling Pink Spirit Day, October 13th, to promote breast cancer awareness and additional challenges throughout the week. Also, we'll be holding a trunk or treat, and each class will have a participating car. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. So thank you to all 4 of you for taking on the responsibilities you have within your school and to come here for monthly meetings. We very much appreciate it, and it's always a highlight of our meeting. I can definitely speak on behalf of my colleagues for that. So once again, thanks for being here, and good reports, all of you. So 3.5, see if the superintendent can outdo you on his reports.
I don't think that's going to happen. But good
Dr.
evening,
Stauffer.
Good evening to you anyway, Mr. Malone. Good evening to the board members, and a special good evening to all of our student representatives from each of the high schools. It's great to have you here tonight representing your schools. And as Mr. Malone said, we really appreciate hearing from you and all the great things that are happening and that you're involved with. Just want to give a report to start off with about back to school in the last week and how things have been going. I've been excited myself, and the assistant superintendents have been able to visit just about all of the schools within our school system, and I'm pleased so far with what I'm seeing. I'm pleased with what I'm hearing from our principals and from our staff. I believe the new resources that we've been able to add this year and the initiatives and programs that we're moving forward with have been positive additions to our school system. This includes a revised code of conduct, additional campus patrol positions. We've heard about the electronic hall pass or e-hall pass in each of our high schools that has been working well, and is always a work in progress, but I think that that's been a positive addition as well, and that's been something that's been in conjunction with our campus patrol positions. We've heard about the career counselors that we've been able to add to each of our middle schools and our high schools, and we're excited about the benefit that we know that's going to bring to each of those schools. The new long-term in-school intervention program, Road to Excellence program that we've been able to add this year to our secondary schools, and also really just taking a collective approach to how we're handling cell phones in our schools, and supported by our new code of conduct. I've been hearing a lot of positive things about that over the course of this last week. Excited about the pictures that I've seen. Haven't been able to get out there to it yet, but the pictures I've been able to see from our new pre-K center, our newest pre-K classroom in the CTE Parkside Early Childhood Education Program. So our high school students are working with staff who are all working with our youngest learners as our newest pre-K classroom here in Wicomico County, and we are hearing great things from that program. Our new middle school sports program, which starts in about a week, as we're adding 6 sports to the middle school program, and the benefits that we know are going to happen from that, and the excitement that has generated not only in our students but in our staff, and the things that they've been able to say about that. So we've had great feedback. We had a lot of positive feedback from the staff kickoff at the Civic Center this year, the new logo that we were able to unveil with the support of all of those that provided feedback. So we have a lot of exciting things going on. I'm pleased with the start that we've had, and now as a team we just need to continue to push forward and put our best foot forward, work together to continue that level of engagement and excitement throughout the year. So I want to thank all of our staff, our teachers, our parents, our administrators, and all the support staff, as well as our students, for the start that we've had so far this year. Let's keep it going. So with that, I will also go to Dr. Briggs. He is going to actually, in our first full week of school, he's going to provide us with an update on all the summer programs that we had happen over the summer.
Thank you, Dr. Stauffer. And as you said, a lot of good things going on in our schools right now, but I do want to take you back to the summer where we had a lot of excellent programs from our youngest learners to those trying to walk across the graduation stage this coming year. So quick recap for you tonight, hopefully. First of all, our secondary summer school program, where our middle and high school summer programs are our more traditional summer school, where students are attempting to earn credits towards graduation, and our middle school students are trying to earn promotion to the next grade level. And you see the numbers up on the screen there. We did have a few students who signed up and didn't attend, which was disappointing. And unfortunately, we did have a few students because of attendance that weren't able to stay in the program. But we'll be working with those students throughout the school year to catch up. The next one we'll talk about is Camp Slam. It's much different than our traditional summer school, where it focuses on enrichment through career exploration. The creative team of camp counselors provided me with a slide for each of the 5 areas that the students can choose from. So I want to share those with you tonight. First, we had Fit for Life, and I'm not going to read you the entire screen, but you see the career connections, and we've had a lot of talk about our career counselors already tonight. They will be working with students in all of our secondary schools throughout the year, and that's part of our blueprint implementation plan. Artscape, where campers got to create multiple forms of media and artwork. And you see the career connections there as well. Off the Stove, I was able to make it over there, but I did not partake of any of the food, but it did look yummy. Mad Lab, a lot of our students are very interested in STEM and the STEM fields, and you see, again, the career connections. It's beyond just being a science teacher or a researcher, the engineers and web developers and architects and all the connections that come with that. And music makers. A lot of our students, especially at that middle school level, are very interested in music, and is a great way to connect them with their learning. And you see, again, many of the connections that they can make. Next, we also had a summer STEM camp at Salisbury Middle School, where students could attend for 3 weeks. They could attend 1, 2, or 3. Many of our students chose to attend all 3 weeks, and you can see the areas that they got to work with during that time. And again, about 40 to 50 of our students were able to take part over that 3-week session. For our youngest learners, our Judy Center Early Learning Hub provided a program to help students summer learning loss prevention and assist with readiness for both pre-K and K. You see some of the different areas that they've got to focus on, and as I spoke with a couple of the teachers, there was lots of creative movement used with these 4 and 5-year-olds. And those of you who've been around 4 and 5-year-olds know that creative movement is a needed and positive thing. And last but certainly not least, we have our Elementary Summer Academy, and I want to thank Ms. Harrington and our other wonderful lead teachers who created this Canva presentation to share about their summer program. And I should have known they would be overachievers. I just asked for a couple pictures and some data, but you're going to get a nice Canva presentation. It is. So just a description there of the program. And again, it was free enrollment with transportation for all of our students. We had sites throughout the county, tried to do it geographically while not interfering with Ms. Ashby's many projects that were going on across the district. Again, a description of the program. As far as the academic piece, focused on reading and math. And then in the afternoons and during the LEAP part, hands-on project-based learning. Again, more arts integration, lots of movement, and a lot of music. Enrichment, you see some of the pictures. Everything from pickleball to daily STEM activities. Field trips that came to the students, and then they also got to go and visit the Parkside Planetarium as well, which is becoming a real popular hit across the district. As far as enrollment goes, we had pretty evenly distributed across the 4 sites, and we were able to serve 580 students. The Do the Math curriculum, again, focused on key concepts at each grade level. And ELA curriculum really focused on the phonics, which all of our data is showing that, especially for our youngest learners, the phonics is where we need to see our greatest improvement. And then to wrap it up, just a number of lovely pictures of kids. I had to flashback. I remember making fortune tellers in school. It was popular. It's good to know it's still popular a few years later. Making sounds. STEM fossils. Finger painting. Who doesn't love a good maraca? DI activities. Pickleball, which is great to see some of our oldest community members and our youngest community members all playing. PE, ABC's rap with Bamani. Field day fun. And I like Ms. Harrington wrapping it up with, this is what it was all about. In all of our summer programs throughout the district, proud of the work that the entire Division of Instruction, with support of Student Services and others, put on to meet the needs of our students. I would like to see in the future our participation increase, right? I mean, you saw the numbers. We have 15,000 students, and we were able to serve probably a little over 1,000 students. So percentage-wise, I'd like to see if we could do a little bit more. I do know the community steps up and helps out some during the summertime, but I'd like to see them be more involved as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Briggs. Any questions from board members regarding summer programs? So something else that we have been experiencing over the course of the last year, this is an initiative that was originally began through Blueprint and Maryland's Blueprint, but we have kind of made it our own here in Wicomico County. We're very proud of that. I'm going to invite Mrs. Obarski to come forward. She's going to talk about community schools. So the funding with community schools, again, has been initiated from the state, but what our schools, our principals, and the staff that they are working collaboratively with at central office are doing around community schools, I think is something that's not only unique to us, but has truly been a benefit to our school system. So thank you, Mrs. Obarski. Take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to speak for a few minutes about community schools. This is only day 60 for me in this new role, and I'm very passionate about the concept, but very new to the role. So I'm going to explain a little bit about community schools and then try to answer any questions that you might have to the best of my ability. So community schools, what is a community school? This is under Pillar 4 of the Blueprint. And a community school is a recipient of Maryland Blueprint Concentration of Poverty Grant Funds. And that's a formula-based grant based on the percentage of students in poverty at that particular school. And the percentage has graduated. So in 2020 it was at 80%, and now in fiscal year 24 we're at 60%. And then moving into next fiscal year, it will decrease to 55% in every year after. So we have 10 community schools, and I'll go over that in just a few minutes with you currently in Wicomico County. Community schools are a whole school model, so we're really looking at a holistic approach to promoting those positive and equitable outcomes for students, and that's really looking at the whole family, providing students and families with the physical and mental health needs, academic needs, extracurricular supports that they need to thrive. So it's a very holistic approach to the whole family. They serve as a hub where we're trying to bring families, communities, and schools together centrally, whether it's in the neighborhood of that community school or in the school itself, really bringing all those key stakeholders together to remove those barriers to learning. And it uses an asset-based approach, so we're really looking at that collective expertise, that collective assets in our community, in our schools, in our families, and bringing that all together in the best interests of our students. So there are 4 key pillars of a comprehensive community school strategy that really create those conditions necessary for students to thrive. The first pillar is expanded and enriched learning time and opportunities. So that's our before and after school opportunities, our tutoring, family educational nights where we're providing educational opportunities not just for the student but for the whole family. Summer pop-up events where we're helping with food needs, food insecurities, or we're helping with registration and enrollment and kind of getting them ready for the school year. So it's those wraparound services and opportunities that they're not getting in the regular school day. Pillar 2 is active family and community engagement, and this is really essential to building and fostering those relationships of trust and respect between all key stakeholders so that we can leverage the collective expertise and resources that we have. We want the family to understand that they're the expert on their child, but then we also have all of these community resources and expertise that we need to collectively pull together and use those assets for the benefit of our students. Pillar 3 is integrated student support. This is really about that whole child approach where we know that mental well-being and academic success are intertwined and they're mutually reinforcing. You have to have both of those things happening for a student to be overall successful. And finally, Pillar 4 is that collaborative leadership and practices, and that's that relational glue that really holds the rest of these pillars together. And what I just said before, leveraging this collective expertise of all of the key stakeholders, key constituents, all the people that are involved in helping our students be successful, because it is a community effort, and really building those relationships and collaborating. Some of the wraparound services that are indicated in the blueprint that we should be looking to provide as a community school: extended learning time, we just talked about that. Before, after school, summer, weekends, evenings, all of those wraparound times where we're trying to break down those barriers for students when they're not in school. Vision and dental services, school-based health centers, additional support personnel, whether they be pupil personnel workers, social workers, or any other additional support personnel that we need in addition to the community school coordinators that we have at those schools. Enhancing physical wellness, opportunities to enhance behavioral health services, providing family and community engagement and supports, linkages to early learning programs like our Judy centers and our neighborhood early learning centers, enhancing student enrichment experiences, improving student attendance, which we know is extremely critical for student success, improving our school learning environment. So this is really about bringing our communities together so that we can improve the school culture and climate for our students. Training for staff to help identify students who might need some of these resources, and then safe transportation to and from school. So those are just some of the different wraparound services that are identified in the blueprint that community schools should be focusing on. We have community school coordinators at each of our community schools, and we have a lot of work to do and a lot of potential. I'm just going to go over just an overview of some of the major responsibilities that our community school coordinators have. They should be establishing and leading community school steering committees at their community school. And that steering committee works to lead a needs assessment. So that school goes through a needs assessment where they're gathering feedback from students, from parents, from community to really figure out what are the needs of that community school in that neighborhood so that we can then develop an implementation plan of some of the action steps that we want to take throughout the course of the year. They're working to promote expanded and enriched learning opportunities, which we just talked about. Those before and after school opportunities, tutoring, summer pop-up events. They're promoting those collaborative leadership practices with community agencies and their school leadership. They're coordinating support programs that address those out-of-school learning barriers for students and families. And then they're out and about making those connections, forming those partnerships, building those relationships with our community partners, associations, and agencies so that we can really contribute and do good work at the school level from this community approach. So again, that's just an overview. I've only been working with them for a couple of months, but they are very passionate about what they do, and they work really hard to try to develop and promote opportunities for their neighborhoods, their school communities, their families. So I'm really proud of the work that they're doing. This is just a map of fiscal year 23, which was last year. There were currently 358 community schools across the state of Maryland, and you can kind of see how they're broken up there. And we had 9 last year. As of this fiscal year, currently we have 10. Salisbury Middle was added as a new community school this year in FY24. So you can see the 10 schools who are identified as community schools for Wicomico County and the community school coordinators associated with them. So we have 8 elementary schools and 2 middle schools currently. And each year we will be adding more schools based on that formula that we spoke about earlier, and those schools would be identified as receiving those concentration of poverty grant funds. This is just a kind of collage of photos of some of the things that the community school coordinators have been working on over the summer. You can see some of those summer pop-up events that I talked about, some of the food insecurity things that they were doing, the summer groceries to go. There was lunch at the Greens apartment complex every day that Prince Street was coordinating. There was a family and community day that Y Middle coordinated. And then you can see they were very integral in making the Fresh Start Back to School event a success as well. They worked really hard to help coordinate and execute that very large event. So those are just some of the things that they've been working on over just the past 2 months that I've been in this position, and lots more coming, lots of back to school events and things as well. So again, thank you for the time, and I love talking about this community schools concept. I think it's exciting, it's needed, and I'm very excited about the work that we're going to continue to do, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
How do the kids get into the program, like the after school and stuff? Do they ask somebody in particular, or how does that work?
So it depends on the school. Some of the programs that they have after school right now are grant funded through like LEAP, I think, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at you because it's not community school based. So I'm not sure what those particular criteria are, but I know that some of the schools, like Wicomico Middle School, for example, has the WISE program after school, and it's a simple, not an application process, but anyone can sign up. Okay. Sometimes they get full though, and there's a wait list. But definitely, I would say reach out to their particular school to inquire about after school opportunities. And we're trying. That's one of the areas that we're really trying to work on in the coming year, because there are some schools, West Salisbury, for example, does not have an after-school program right now, and it's definitely an identified need in that community. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to partner with some of the community-based daycare providers in that area to try to do some partnering with them for right now until we can really look at how we can create a program for the school itself.
The only thing I would add, everything Tara says is 100% accurate. And we just, as the board knows, we just hired a new supervisor of after-school programming. His first day is Monday, and he'll be working with each of the principals and Tara and other district leaders to make sure we have the correct programming in the correct schools and meeting the needs of the students and families. So more to come on that in the future.
Thank you very much,
you.
Ms. Obrowski.
Thank you.
Appreciate the work you and your team are doing. It's really adding a lot to
Thanks for your support. We really appreciate
our schools. So it's a new school year, and we have a lot of students that are returning to us, and we also have a lot of students that are new to us. So I thought it would be good to just let the board and community know about a little bit about our enrollment and the update to that we have so far as we are beginning the second week of school. Mrs. Miles.
Well, thank you, Dr. Stauffer. Good evening, everyone. The most exciting part about what I get to share with you is not necessarily the numbers, but behind all of these numbers, there are the faces that you just saw on the previous presentations and all that is yet to come. So a little bit of a summary here for you. Please keep in mind this data was retrieved on the 12th and has changed. It probably changed later in the day on the 12th after I retrieved it, so there will be some updates moving forward. As of September 12th, though, we had 15,151 students, and you can see the comparative measure. We were already up beyond our official enrollment from last year of 15,013 and beyond the year before of 14,632. So we are welcoming lots of students into our schools, and we are very happy to be able to do that. This next one, it's broken down by grade. Please know that I already recognize that 12th grade and 21, 22, we did graduate and have more than 53 seniors. So my apologies, but we will get that corrected for you. But you can see a comparative point and as well a trend, how the students are transitioning from one grade to the next and staying with us in Wicomico County Public Schools. This is very exciting. You can see the changes when we had Y3 and when we transitioned to the expanded pre-kindergarten programs by the numbers that are there. And we continue to grow. And as these numbers grow, we're also, obviously through the support and direction of our board, we're increasing the opportunities for all of these students in each of the levels. With regard to some very specific populations, our ELL students, our English language learners, 1,507. Now that number is a little bit lower than the 1,546 that I shared with you last year, but it's also a new system where there are assessments that determine, or a new year with the assessments that determine the numbers. So I anticipate that when next I share numbers with you, you'll see the increase beyond last year's, because we know that we are serving more and more students for whom language is their, or English rather, is their second language. What an exciting opportunity, not only for those students, but for all the students in the classes with them to be able to learn together. Students who have identified need and are served through an IEP, 1,597 as of the date when the data was reviewed. That is an increase over last year. We are staying in the 1,500 to 1,600 student range. And obviously this number represents a very wide array of needs. They could be students who are receiving speech or OT or PT or in a specific setting, or some of our highest need students. The commonality, though the delivery of service specific to the student may be different across a number of students, the commonality is the needs are being served across all of the schools for all of the students. And then one more area I wanted to share with you, and I know the numbers are a little bit smaller on there, my apologies, but I don't have all of the transportation data for you, but we have 145 buses, 12 alternative vehicles, those are mostly our vans, 198 bus drivers. We have very specific transportation routing for 195 students identified having transportation needs through the IEP, and as well as FIT. For a reminder for everyone, that is the acronym for Families in Transition. Those are our families identified and served through McKinney-Vento, the Federal Homeless Recognition Program. Currently, 99, knowing that literally the number went up just after I typed it into the chart. So when you look at 561 from last year, I would anticipate that our number throughout the year is going to grow beyond that as we meet the needs of our students whose families are in situations qualifying them for that. Again, as I shared in the very beginning of this quick review of enrollment numbers, the numbers are one thing. The faces behind every one of those numbers, that's what counts. That's what matters, and that's our purpose for every day. So thank you for the opportunity to provide that bit of information. I look forward to sharing updates as appropriate.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Miles? Mr. Palmer?
Ms. Miles, the homeless situation of our school students,
Yes,
what
sir.
is the comparison between this year and last year? How many students?
I would have to go in to look at the data. We have put in place, and this was what I'm about to describe was put in place, I want to say, about 6 years ago. As of June 30, at the end of that workday, no students are identified as fit or family in transition. We repeat that process beginning July 1, so the very next calendar day, so that we can verify addresses and status and resources needed. I don't have the number in front of me, but I will make sure to have that for you. That itself is an ever-changing number as well.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that number. So all that's happened is we've changed the name from homeless to families in transition.
We've used the acronym Families in Transition for about 10 years. Yes.
Where did
It
the word,
is-
where did the term homeless come from that I hear so much, homeless students?
Homeless is the definition. There's a federal definition for homeless status through McKinney-Vento. That is the federal funding and regulatory statute. And then for our families, as a manner of communication and sensitivity, the Families in Transition name is known and very, very well known throughout the community as our reference to the services provided through that.
And this is coming from federal funding.
McKinney-Vento funding, it's passed through to the state. It's federal funding to MSDE. We apply each year for specific funding, and it has been a competitive grant for the past several years, and we have received full award on our submissions each of the years, and we continue to do so.
Okay, I'd really be interested in those numbers when you get it.
I will certainly work on that.
Mrs. Miles, I see that we have almost about 150 increase in enrollment. Do we know if that's because of pre-K and kindergarten, or perhaps some of the students coming back after COVID, or a combination of both?
I think obviously it could be a combination of many factors. Going back to the grade level, I think you would see a distribution across grade levels while our pre-K numbers do continue to grow. We want to get our students in early so they stay with us through, but there are increases across the grade levels, and we continue to monitor that. That obviously has an impact on class size and spacing in schools and things of that nature, so that's an ongoing review.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, we've really capped out at the pre-K and K level. We can't add any more. So that's pretty much a flat line now. So the increased enrollment, while maybe a little bit of it's pre-K, most of it's in K to 12.
So are we getting close to all-time high in number of students? Are we pretty close, or do we know what that?
We're on the high end of things. We like that. We have a lot to
Yeah,
offer, so we want to
absolutely.
offer it to a lot of
We
students.
were around 15,200
At the
just
end of
prior
last
to
year.
Prior to the pandemic?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now, Dr. Briggs, our monthly blueprint report.
Thank you, Dr. Stauffer. Since our August board meeting, there's been little blueprint information coming from the AIB or MSDE. In fact, Dr. Pavic just went to a conference last weekend with the hopes of gaining some new insights, but came home empty-handed. But we're continuing to implement what was in our plan that we submitted this past March. Just tonight, we've heard about career coaches, community schools, out-of-school time programs to support students, supports for EL students, and enhancements in our pre-K programming. So just tonight, unintentionally, we've already hit on several of the blueprint topics. We're continuing to plan for our upcoming submission in 2024 with our WCPS Blueprint Steering Committee having a meeting tomorrow. So that's it.
It seems like the state is taking their cue from the counties instead of it being the other way around.
You should be happy about that.
Well, they're the ones who dole out the money.
All right. And to wrap it all up, we have Dr. Reger for our grant report.
The money.
Good evening, Chairman Malone, Vice Chair Brown, and members of the board. I'm excited to share some updates with you today regarding some recent success we've had in receiving some grants to support the work of our staff and students. We had 2 grants funded in August totaling over $196,000. First one was from the Maryland Center for School Safety. They're providing over $185,000 to support 2 full-time school resource officers, as well as hourly rates for SRO coverage after school and summer events, and also providing some safety equipment and training to support the role of deputies as SROs in a school setting. The second is the Davis Ellen McDonald's sponsorship, which is granting over $10,000 to support some programs in our Department of Student Services with activities such as Camp Aspire, some team building activities, parent engagement events, and clothing for students in need. August saw the submission of 25 grants totaling over $430,000, and I look forward to updating you on those grants at a future meeting.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reger. Thank you all. And with that, Mr. Malone, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Stauffer. So 4.1, approval of recent open session minutes. They would be the minutes from a regular meeting on August 8th, special meeting August 29th, work session August 29th. So you received those in advance. I assume you're ready to vote, so I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 8th, a regular meeting, August 29th, special meeting, and August 29th, work session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll move to a vote. Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Hazel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Beecham?
Aye.
Mr. Plotz?
Aye.
Dr. Ennis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. So we'll move to consent items. So we receive the consent items well in advance. So for the viewing public and for the folks here in attendance, we don't arrive at the meeting and say, let's just do one motion and approve all these things. We had them in plenty of time to review them, go through them, work sessions, and ask questions. So I just thought, and Mrs. Hazel brought that to my attention, it'd be nice to say that to the viewing public. So I'll briefly give you snippets from each one. So 5.1 are personnel matters that need approval. 5.2 is the recommendations for faculty reps to the board. 5.3 would be a unit price contract for school nurses, athletic trainers, which could have an annual contract value of $75,000. 5.4 is another unit price contract for purchase of materials and instruction. 5.5 is another unit price contract for purchase of maintenance, repair, and operating supplies. 5.6, unit price contract for maintenance, repair, and operating supplies. 5.7, maintenance and repair, operating supplies, and equipment. 5.8 is a unit price contract for materials of instruction and office supplies. 5.9 is UPC be used for the purchase of athletic supplies and equipment. 5.10, a unit price contract for purchase of athletic equipment and supplies. 5.811 is a job order contract for small-scale projects which arise through the contract period for structured cabling. 5.12 has to do with audio-video systems. It's a job order contract. 5.13 has to do with video distribution systems, a job order contract. 5.14 is a job order contract that has to do with intercom systems. 5.15 has to do with master clock systems, a job order contract. 5.16 is a job order contract for access control systems. 5.7, job order contract for master clock systems, video surveillance systems. 5.18 would be approval of board policies, which were already been before the 7-member board in a work session, and we voted to move those forward for approval in public. And then 5.9, so we will go to 5.20, and I'll entertain a motion to approve consent items from 5.1 through 5.18.
I make a motion to approve the consent items 5.1 through 5.818.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Hazel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Beecham?
Aye.
Mr. Plotz?
Aye.
Dr. Ennis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So we'll go back to 5.9, and I'll ask for a motion to approve the Parent Advisory Committee representatives to the board. And Mr. Plotz will be recusing himself because his wife will be a rep
Yes.
from Pinehurst.
Yes.
So that's why we separated the consent items to make this very transparent. So I'll entertain a motion to approve 5.19 consent item.
Make a motion to approve 5.19.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Hazel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Beecham?
Aye.
Mr. Plotz recused. Dr. Ennis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, all the consent items are now approved. So we'll move to our action items, which begins with 6.1, which is there a motion to approve the FY 2030 capital improvement plan and budget, which was reviewed and discussed during our August 29th work session for submission to the county executive and the state?
I make a motion to approve the capital improvement plan and budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
So do we have any? It's Dr. Rager. Sorry.
We've discussed that in the
Yeah.
work session, so
Yeah.
if there's any questions, certainly from the board,
Right.
we can.
If none, then we'll
certainly,
move to a
And
vote.
these work,
Those.
work sessions were all open.
Yeah,
Correct.
To the
absolutely.
public.
Yep.
Yeah, so if y'all want to come to them, you see what's going on. Yeah.
Or they're recorded.
Yeah, or they're recorded. You can look on the website and find them there.
So if there are no questions, then I'll move to vote. Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Hazel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Beecham?
Aye.
Mr. Plotz?
Aye.
Dr. Ennis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It's approved. 6.2, and I'll read the preamble here. This is an MOU. During the board work session on August 2nd, staff from Junior Achievement of the Eastern Shore presented information regarding the various programs and curriculum that would be utilized with WCPS students this coming year, as described in the proposed MOU, which is a Memo of Understanding. Blueprint funds designated to assist with career exploration for grades 6 to 12 students will be utilized to offset the expected expenditures described in the MOU. Legal counsel provided feedback throughout the development of the MOU. So upon the recommendation of the superintendent, is there a motion to authorize the superintendent to sign the Memo of Understanding between Wicomico County Public Schools and Junior Achievement of the Eastern Shore?
I make a motion to authorize the superintendent to sign the memorandum of understanding between the Wicomico County Public Schools and Junior Achievement of the Eastern Shore.
Is there a second?
Second.
So any questions, but also Dr. Briggs would have any comments if we need
No
that.
additional comments. Similar to the previous one, it was presented in an open work session.
Yep.
Dr. Stalford provided a draft of the MOU to all board members, I think 3 weeks ago, for plenty of time for review. And we hadn't received any questions, so I think we're good to go.
We'll move to the roll call vote. Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mrs. Hazel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Beecham?
Aye.
Mr. Plotz?
Aye.
Dr. Ennis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Very agreeable group this evening. So 6.3, personnel matters, is for information only. 6.4 is revised procedures. That's information. So we'll go to 7.1, which are public comments. We have one this evening, so I need to read this. Public comment section of the agenda is an opportunity for the superintendent and board to listen to individuals' own comments on topics concerning Wicomico County Public Schools. The board chairman has the right to limit public comments in length or those concerning personnel or student matters which clearly identify an individual or students, appeals or legal matters that are before the board, negotiations and topics that are more appropriately addressed in closed session or privately with a staff member. Only verbal comments are permitted during public comment session of a board meeting. Written, printed, audio, or video material may be submitted via comments@wcboe.org. No signs or posters may be displayed by the public during board meetings. Each speaker shall address all comments directly to the board and speak only from the designated location for public comments. This evening we have one from Bev Urick, topic is a successful school year. And Ms. Urick, you know the drill, 3 minutes, and I'll give you a 30-second warning. And
okay, sounds good.
Welcome.
Good evening. Tonight I come as a parent and a former teacher of Wicomico County Schools. The beginning of the school year is such a hopeful time with the promise of a successful year. I'm delighted about the programs that are available this year, especially for our middle and high school students. For one, as you all know, many high school students are now going to be able to participate in sports since the fees have been dropped. Also, sports-minded middle school students, I'm glad to know, will have even more intramural sports available for them. However, I am most excited about the focus on careers in our middle schools. I recently learned, and it was mentioned tonight, that there are now career coaches in our middle schools, a very positive endeavor. I'm so glad to see this position in the schools to aid our students in beginning to think about their future. I've heard in the news frequently of the trend in the nation of trade-based education. The career coaches, I'm confident, will develop and provide such trade-based programs for interested students. So many positive initiatives have been expressed tonight, beginning with our student representatives, Dr. Stauffer, Dr. Briggs, Mrs. Obarski. So I'm very encouraged with our positive movement forward. Also, I'm reminded of the letter from the teacher that Dr. Ennis read at a previous board meeting. That teacher represents the many teachers who continue to see the potential of our students. I'm hopeful that these new programs for our students will provide the direction they need for a more constructive behavior. And here's to a productive, gratifying, fulfilling year for everyone. Again, thanks to you and to your staff for the service to Wicomico County Public School students, parents, and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Urick. So that concludes public comments, so we'll move to 8.1, board members' reports, and I'll start to my right this time with Mr. Palmer. You have the
Mr.
floor.
Malone. I can't say enough about this new junior achievement program. I mean, it's the next best thing to sliced bread, if you know what I mean. And my wife and I took a tour of the building down there. Oh, yeah. She went with us, I forgot. The three of us took a tour down there, and it's just a fantastic thing that's going to be happening. It's going to be used this school year, and it's really going to help our children in preparing for the future. And at the end of the presentation, the lady who was doing the presentation said, "Are there any questions?" And as a lot of people know, I'm normally one of the ones who has questions. But as I gazed around at all the storefronts, the banks and the Chick-fil-A's and the Pohanka Motors, me being a military man, I did not see one thing about a military career. You can have a fantastic military career. It's endless, but there was not one thing there. So as I was speaking with her, she said, "You're right, and we're going to do something about that." So I'm looking forward to her keeping her promise, and I'm going to check and see how it's going. But I'm telling you, got to get down there and take a look and see what's been happening. The second thing I'd like to talk about is I'm looking forward to some parents using the policy on undesirable books and that they find in classes, curriculum, wherever they find them. There is a process to follow. I hear a lot of talk. I hear a lot of complaints. So far, I'm seeing very little action. So when the parents find these books, follow the process, keep track of the who's and the they's with names and phone numbers. Let us know how it's going and report back to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Mrs. Hazel.
Okay, so I was very interested in finding out about the different departments at the school. So Ms. Beecham and I took a tour of the facilities department. They do a lot of stuff over there. I also did a walkthrough with Birth to 5 and the special education department. And by the way, I don't know if anybody's seen this or not, but there's a flyer that has come out. The CCAC meeting, which is Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee, is going to have a meeting on the 21st. So if you have a child that has an IEP, they're going to be going over how IEPs work and trying to help parents that don't really understand how those are working. And as Mr. Palmer said, but he forgot about me, we went to the JA building, which is the where they're putting it over there with the Kmart. And it's very exciting. I'm interested to see how that goes once it's all going and moving and the kids are in there. And I would just like to say I'm very excited to start my first year on the board, and I'm ready to go.
Thank you, Mrs. Hazel. Mr. Brown?
Okay. Along with the other board members, I attended the new teachers' breakfast, the leadership breakfast, and the kickoff celebration. At the new teachers' breakfast, I was pleased to see that there's a diversity of new teachers coming into the county. Some of them will be teaching for the first time. Others are seasoned, which means they have taught somewhere else before, or some are coming in as a second career. And so it was interesting to see the diversity there. The kickoff for the school year at the Civic Center was amazing. Each year, each superintendent has a duty of the task of trying to find something that's going to be inspiring, enlightening, and enjoyable by all. And I think it's a little tougher each year for the superintendent. I think this year, and I've been going to these now for 40 plus years, and I think this is one of the better ones. The one before that I thought was great. Well, this one really lived up to par. So, Dr. Stauffer, congratulations on new beginning for the school year. I had a few parents call me, and they're concerned, like everyone else. Their children didn't get the teacher that they wanted, or they didn't get the class that they wanted. And I told them, just kind of be patient. There are kinks that have to be worked out during the first few days of school. Also, there are two really big concerns, and I know they've gone on for years. I went by Y Middle one day at the end of the school day, and the traffic there is just unbelievable. They're backed up all the way down the street and out on the highway. And the same thing is true of Chipman Elementary School and Salisbury Middle School, because I travel and I live on the west side, so I go by these schools all the time. And I'm not sure there's anything that we can do about that, because that's been happening for years. I guess if we had a police officer at each one of the schools, that might help. But then with the problems that the police department and sheriff's office are having with in retaining employees, I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll just have to work and do the best that we can. The other thing that I want to commend all of the staff members, starting with the bus drivers and the custodians and the facilities workers, the support staff, the school nurses, the teachers and the administration. All of them play a part in getting the school year off to a good start and for the kids to have a rewarding and enjoyable year. And we are very, very fortunate, because in a lot of school systems, they're struggling to get bus drivers. They're struggling to get teachers. And we're in pretty good shape, as was indicated to us today with Dr. Pavitt. So I'm thankful for that. And the caliber of people that we have working with our schools is really great. And finally, I'm glad to see the student representatives back. It's fantastic. Like I said in the past, we live in a community where all four schools are very, very close together, but the things that are going on in each one of the schools are so very different, so very interesting. So congratulations to you guys, and keep the good work up, and hope that you all have a rewarding and enjoyable year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mrs. Beecham?
Mm-hmm. Thank you all to all who attended or reviewed tonight's meeting. This past month, I had the pleasure of touring the Facility Services Division. Bob Souza took Kristen Hazel and I on a detailed tour. Needless to say, I was impressed with Bob and his staff. It was incredible to look behind the scenes of our school system. I have a more detailed understanding of maintenance, operation, and energy monitoring and usage in our schools. A huge thank you to Bob for generously offering his time. I also attended the leadership breakfast with the board, Dr. Stauffer, and all of his leadership teams. Start to finish, this was a wonderful event. I appreciate everyone's excitement for a new school year. Thank you to Dr. Stauffer and to all of the leaders who work so hard for Wicomico's students and teachers. But probably the most informational tour I went on occurred this week. Kristen Hazel and I met with Patty Adkins and Kevin Smith in regard to Wicomico County Birth to 5 program. I had no idea what work and dedication was involved. This program and the people that serve in this program are dedicated to the Wicomico County families with children ages birth to kindergarten age who have delays or disabilities. In our conversation with Patty and Kevin, the statement that impacted me the most was when Kevin said, and I am paraphrasing what he said, he said, when we interview a person for a position in this department, we look at all the qualifications, but ultimately what we want to know is, show us how you're going to love this child. It's not just about working in a program with children with delays and or disabilities. It's about loving the child. To me, that was just amazing and wonderful to hear. Finally, I was excited to see the rebranding of Wicomico County Public Schools. If you've not been to the website yet, please go take a look at it. It looks fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Beecham. Mr. Plotz?
It was a pleasure to welcome our teachers, staff, and students back to school last week. I'd like to thank the planning, construction, maintenance, and operations, and technology services staff who completed the numerous summer projects. And as a parent, I had the privilege of participating in orientations and back-to-school nights at 2 of our schools. It's always great to observe the commitment and passion displayed by our teachers and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Plotz. Dr. Ennis?
Sure. Good evening, and welcome back to another school year. It's been so wonderful seeing all the pictures that have been posted from the schools on their opening day activities. From greeting the students as they got out of their cars, off their buses, to the high fives, the hugs, and the cheers. Our teachers and administrators have gone the extra mile to ensure that our students have felt welcome back to school. And while opening day was not without its challenges, I know our teachers are excited to be back doing what they love doing, teaching. A special shout out to Tara Martens on her selection as a finalist for Maryland Teacher of the Year. Congratulations, Tara. I want to send a huge thank you to Crystal Brinson and Tara Barsky for their work on bringing back the Fresh Start event to the Civic Center. With over 2,300 attendees, 1,325 students received free backpacks, school supplies, with an opportunity for free haircuts, shoes, and school clothes. It was amazing to see so many volunteers and families working together to help our students prepare for the school year. And finally, yesterday was 9/11. For those of you that were alive at the time, we remember where we were on that fateful day. As for me, I was teaching at Salisbury Middle School. Classroom TVs were all tuned on to the news, and everyone was trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Parents began flooding the school to check out their students, afraid of what this might mean. And at the end of the day, staff that chose to meet prayed. We prayed for the students, we prayed for our country, and we prayed for those that lost their lives that day. Those students who were at Salisbury Middle School are now adults. And while I know they remember 9/11, I hope they remember Wednesday, September 12th, because that day, all of their teachers returned to the classroom. Across the county, across the state, across the country, those teachers returned to their classrooms doing what they love doing best, teach, bringing a sense of normalcy in a chaotic world. So thank you to all of our teachers, to our administrators, to our school support staff, our cafeteria workers, our custodians, our bus drivers. Thank you for doing what you do every day in providing our students with an excellent education. I wish you all a productive school year.
Thank you, Dr. Ennis. So like my colleagues, I had some nice events to attend the month of August. Went to the work session with the county council with Dr. Stauffer and his team, which went very well. New teacher breakfast, leadership breakfast. I did attend the Salisbury University stadium dedication, the soccer field. Dr. Jerry DiBartolo, who also taught marketing, is a 30-plus year professor, coached soccer, coached one of my sons, but a shout-out to him because the reason why my son chose that university and we supported it was he was more about making sure he got an education and not just playing soccer. Both together were great, but he wasn't going to be a pro soccer player, and he got a degree. So thank you, Dr. Dieter Bartolo, and congratulations. Also attended the Fresh Start event. My wife and I worked an hour or so there, plus went through there, and like Dr. Ennis, you've never seen so many people. It was wonderful, very much so. The last chamber lunch, I had the opportunity to meet Governor Westmore, our new Maryland governor, also hear him speak. Very much pro-education, which was good to hear, but a very dynamic speaker. The first day of school, I joined Dr. Stauffer and others and Mr. Plotz at Prince Street to welcome back students, along with the SU basketball team. That was so wonderful that they took their morning because they're young college students that I'm quite certain they're not usually up at 7 o'clock. Maybe they were, but they were so positive, and the energy was great, and the coach was there with them taking pictures, and it was just wonderful. Then we traveled over to Beaver Run and welcomed those students. That was just wonderful. And then the next day, I welcomed the students at Y High, which is where I graduated from in the 70s, along with other folks who graduated. It was Alumni Day to welcome students. And even at the high school level, all smiles, lots of happy people coming back to school. So it was a wonderful start to the school year. Tonight has probably been one of the best board meetings we've had in a long time in terms of positive energy. It's just been a great evening. Everything's been upbeat. Everything seems to be going very well, and I very much appreciate all the positive reports, particularly from the 4 high school student reps to the board. That's always a highlight. I don't say that lightly. We actually mean that. We look forward to your attendance. So enrollment growth, and then middle school sports is something that I've hoped for since my kids were in middle school and they had sports. Dr. Stauffer and his team found a way to make that happen without a fee, as Mrs. Urich talked about, which is wonderful. And then finally, JA, you've heard me talk about it before. I've toured that facility, and every year I give a week to my daughter-in-law's class and teach JA. And if you want a good laugh, you could come to my house at 5:30 every morning that week and watch me with a cup of coffee try to do a lesson plan, and then try to figure out, do I have the right time? If it's going to be too short, too long, making notes. And then about the second day, I realized, hey, this is what the teachers do every single day. And I've said this many times, but it still is a wake-up call for all of us that we appreciate very much what all the teachers do and all the administrators, et cetera. But when I teach GAA once a week, I say, wow, this is a major job every day. So thank you all for being here. It was a great meeting, and I wish you safe travels home, and we're adjourned.